Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members of the patrons, make sure to subscribe. And yeah guys, patch day, so let's talk a little bit about all the additions or the major additions for the ground in War Thunder in the La Royale update. So let's get to it. I don't want this video to be too long. So M1 KVT, new premium that you can use the Viz mod here to actually become that weird kind of, Russian/American air tank. Then we have the M4 T26, which is a very, very interesting tank. It's a Sherman that has the T26 cannon. So yeah, very, very, very different. The M3 cannon, right? It's a 90 millimeter. So yeah, very, very weird, to be honest, and very interesting. Look at the ammunition, has the AIM-82. Nothing too crazy, but still it is fairly interesting to see a Sherman with such a large cannon. Then we go for Germany. Germany has the Raketenautomat. I think that's the name of it. Here's it. I don't have my trophy yet with the new stuff, so yeah, you have to bear that in mind. So yeah, the vehicle that is based off of that APC that the Germans used together with it. Is it an APC? I don't remember, but still uses these basically rocket launcher with HE and heat, as you see. So it has NVD, so yeah, very, very cool. And then a Panzer 38 TNA, which is another type of Panzer 38. Nothing too crazy, has a 37 millimeter KWK. So yeah, even APCR, nice. So yeah, nothing too crazy, very low tier. Then we go for Japan. Japan received the Type 87 RCV. Where is it? Here. Another Type 87. Nothing like too different. The main thing is just the cannon, if I'm not mistaken, which is instead of the Arlington 25, it's an actually, I think it's a Rheinmetall, RH202. I think it's a Rheinmetall, I don't remember. But very weird cannon and very kind of bad, even the cannon. It's really, really kind of weird. But nothing too crazy about it as well. For the Italians, we have the Freccia. Where is it? Freccia. Over here. So yeah, it has the Spike MR ATGM. I think it's an Israeli ATGM. Very, very good ATGM. That it's basically fire and forget, just like the QN 506 missile. So yeah, very, very cool. Tandem, as you see, 20 kilometer lock range, IR guided. So it should be like fairly, problematic against smoke. And then you have the 25 millimeter on it. So very interesting. It looks like is that, I think there is another APC that uses this chassis, isn't it? Yeah, I think this is the one. Let me check. Yeah, I think this is it. It's the same chassis as this one, the VBC, but with a different turret. Great Britain has the SARC Mark 4A, so a new kind of almost reserve South African vehicle, as you see. Very interesting, 40 millimeter QF2. Very good penetration even for such a low BR. The armor is non-existent though. The Vijayanta, which is not a Centurion. For some reason I thought it was a Centurion, but it is a Vickers, okay? So forget about the other video that I did on this tank. So yeah, just a modernization of it. It has the L7. So it has the ammunition of the L7, the normal ammunition from this time area. So Sable, Hash, and Heat. Night visions. So very, very interesting and cool. Then the USSR has two new vehicles. The BTR-80A. So the BTR-80 that has a 30 millimeter. Very, very cool. Very low ammunition armor. Fairly good, mobility. It has the APDS now. They can penetrate pretty well, but it is still just an APC that will kind of get destroyed by anything that has a proper gun. And then the Object 435, which is an experimental tank from the early 60s that was basically trying to be more, a cheaper MBT, to be honest, something along those lines, right? Than the T64 was eventually. So yeah, it has the 115 cannon, so the U5TS, the same cannon as the T62, so it uses the same ammunition, the BM4 steel ammo and the BM3 tungsten ammo. So yeah, very, very cool. And then it has heat and a rangefinder, which is always a nice tank. Some of these most of these tanks in the Soviet Union from this era, early 60s, didn't have a rangefinder. So yeah, very, very cool. Then we go for the Chinese. The Chinese has a new Type 88 and the Object 211. So yeah, the 211 is basically another modification of something along the lines of the Type 63. So yeah, very kind of limited, nothing too crazy. Is it stabilized? I don't think it is, right? But yeah, just a light tank here, nothing crazy. And then we have this ZTZ-88B, which is a Type 88, a new, basically Type 59, right? Modernization of it. It uses the 105 cannon based off of the L7. So yeah, rifled cannon, as you see. And yeah, everything else is basically at the 54, right? So yeah, the ammunition uses the APF-SDS, hash, and heat. And it has a laser rangefinder. Very modern tank, but in an old chassis. Then the French, they have the AMX-30 AF1, which is the new artillery piece that the French got, a 155. So very big gun, as you see. Has smoke, has the variable time fuse shell, and smoke shell, and HE, sorry. Very interesting. And then we have the VBCI-2 and CT-30, very long name. A new APC for the French as a premium, So nothing too crazy as well. A Bushmaster 30mm, which is quite odd that the French are getting a Bushmaster cannon like this. And we still don't have the LAV-25 or something like that with that in the US Tech Tree, but still, you know how things are, right? For the Swedish, we have two tanks. So we have the CV9030 Finn that was actually found in the files or leaked or something like that when the Finnish Tech Tree was actually added last year. So yeah, very interesting APF-SDS. It has thermals, as you see, on the commander as well. So very, very good. And then we have the Sherman 3-4, which is a premium tier rank 3 vehicle. So just a normal Sherman with the 75mm, nothing crazy to talk about. M61 shot, so yeah, cool little camo actually. And then the last nation, the Magachs, the Magach Hydra, that was added for the Tech Tree, as you see over here. So very interesting. It has the Hydra rockets there, very weird to aim and very kind of bad, but still. And then a new squadron vehicle, the Magach 6B Gal, so a new M60 basically for the squadron vehicles of the Israelis. Okay, so these are the new tanks that were added. We have two new maps, the Iberian Castle and the Franz Josef Land. This is for the ships, but the Iberian Castle is for tanks as well, that you can test it out. There were some changes in some of the nations and stuff. Some of the maps with snow and other stuff like that. Not gonna mention too much about it, but yeah. Some of the ATGMs and missiles got a new aiming system. So yeah, I already did a video talking about it a little bit, but it is cool to actually test it out. Basically, they're a little bit more physical and realistic. So that will make it a lot more realistic to actually aim a missile. So as you see, it's a little bit more realistic. It feels a lot more, kind of, I don't know, like, it feels just more physical. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway. And you have the new animation, for example, for the cable there, as you see. So the cable steady, and then it just goes down. So very, very cool, right? Many missiles got this new physics. You can actually test it out mainly on the AA systems. But yeah, it will be a little bit harder to actually hit targets in general, right? But if it is more realistic, so it should be a little bit more, making more sense. So as you see, for example, if you do an overcorrection, it takes a little bit more time to actually correct itself. I don't know if you can see the missile, but it just passed it over there. Let me just try to show again. Even with the thermals, the missile doesn't appear too much. Now you can kind of see it, right? It just overcorrects it, but it's not really overcorrecting. It's just the way that the physical model of the fins and stuff is trying to keep it up with the autopilot of the missile, right? So just a more realistic way of using AA systems, but it is a little bit harder to actually hit targets, okay? And yeah, guys, basically this is it for the tank stuff. I mean, there is a lot of minor things, armor corrections and stuff that I'm not gonna mention every single one of them. You can check the changelog in the description, and I will be doing videos on the new aircraft, the new mechanics is specifically to them, okay? So make sure to subscribe anyway. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave it in the comments what you thought about the patch, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. See ya.